Hello, my name is Adi Sharabi, and I'm from Kibbutzim College of Education in Tel Aviv, Israel. I'm pleased to present this joint research conducted together with my colleague, Professor Tami Seipert. Our study examining how artificial intelligence usage relates to academic self-efficacy, self-regulated learning, and academic achievement among students in higher education, with a particular focus on students with specific learning disorder and ADHD. AI tools have repeatedly entered higher education. At the same time, students with SLD and ADHD already face documented challenges in academic adjustment, emotional regulation, and social adaptation. Academic adjustment includes managing academic demands and sustaining engagement. Emotional adjustment involves coping with stress and self-doubt. Social adjustment relates to belonging and navigating academic environments. We know these students often report lower academic self-efficacy and self-regulated learning difficulties, but we do not yet know how AI interacts with these processes. This study addresses that gap. The primary aim of this study was to examine how AI usage and perceptions relate to core academic and psychological processes. Specifically, we aim to explore whether AI variables are associated with academic self-efficacy, self-regulated learning, and academic achievement. Importantly, we sought to determine whether these relationships operate differently among students with and without SLD and ADHD. Rather than focusing only on whether students use AI, we aim to understand how AI integrates into broader academic adjustment processes. Both SLD and ADHD are neurodevelopmental disorders. SLD affects equation of academic skills. ADHD affects regulation of attention and behavior. Both involve executive functioning vulnerabilities. In higher education, where independence is expected, these vulnerabilities become highly relevant. Entering higher education represents a critical developmental transition. Importantly, in recent years, there has been a significant increase in the number of students with SLD and ADHD entering higher education institutions. This increase reflects improved identification, greater awareness, and expanded access to support services. In many countries, including Israel, students are legally entitled to academic accommodations and institutional support. This may include extended time, alternative assessment formats, assistive technologies, and academic mentoring. The purpose of this accommodation is not to reduce academic standards, but to allow students to bypass barriers directly related to their learning disability or attention difficulties, and to fully realize their academic capabilities. However, even with accommodations, many students continue to experience lower academic self-efficacy and challenges in self-regulated learning. This is the context in which AI tools are now being introduced. Academic self-efficacy reflects to students' beliefs about their ability to successfully complete academic tasks. Research grounded in social cognitive theory demonstrates that academic self-efficacy predicts persistence, effort, and academic achievement. Multiple studies show that students with SLD and ADHD report significantly lower academic self-efficacy compared to their peers. Lower academic self-efficacy may reflect repeated academic frustration and emotional strain. Self-regulated learning is one of the strongest predictors of academic success. It involves academic management of learning processes, planning, monitoring, and evaluating performance. Research highlights the central role of self-regulated learning in explaining academic differences between students with and without SLD or ADHD. Executive function vulnerabilities often interfere with SRL, self-regulated learning processes, among students with this diagnosis. Artificial intelligence holds significant promise for supporting students in higher education. For students with SLD and ADHD, AI tools may provide structured scaffolding, real-time feedback, assistance in organizing ideas, and support in managing cognitive load. AI can potentially promote learning by modeling strategies, clarifying complex concepts, and offering interactive feedback. In this sense, AI may function as a cognitive scaffold that supports the development of self-regulated learning processes. However, alongside these opportunities, there are growing concerns. One concern is the potential for reduced cognitive engagement, what some describe cognitive offloading, or even intellectual atrophy if students rely excessively on AI-generated responses. Another concern is psychological dependency, particularly if students begin to treat AI as substitute for their own cognitive effort or for human academic interaction. For students who already experience lower academic self-efficacy or difficulties in self-regulation, over-reliance on AI may reinforce avoidance patterns rather than strengthen independent learning. Therefore, the key issue is not whether AI is beneficial or harmful, but under what conditions it promotes growth versus dependency. This is why understanding student patterns of AI use and their perceptions of AI becomes critical. In this study, the research variables include two main clusters. The first cluster consisted of 3 indicators related to artificial intelligence: AI usage frequency, positive perceptions of AI's educational utilities, and social perception of AI. The second cluster included variables examining emotional, motivational, and learning-related aspects of academic functioning, academic self-efficacy, self-regulated learning, and academic achievement. This structure allowed us to examine not only whether students use AI, but how different patterns of usage and perception relate to psychological and academic processes. Importantly, we distinguished between positive perception, such as believing that AI enhances learning, and social perception. Social perception includes treating AI as a learning partner, feeling emotionally understood, or sharing personal difficulties with AI. By examining both technological and psychological variables simultaneously, we aim to better understand how AI integrates into students' academic adjustment processes. The sample included 303 students enrolled in College of Education. 71 students, representing 24% of the sample, reported having SLD or ADHD. Specifically, 4% reported SLD only, 11% 8.2% ADHD only, and 8.3% both diagnoses. The remaining 232 students, or 70% of the sample, reported no SLD or ADHD. This distribution allows us to compare academic and AI-related processes across students with and without neurodevelopmental diagnosis. Among students without SLD or ADHD, positive AI perceptions were associated with higher SRL and academic self-efficacy. Academic self-efficacy was positively correlated with grades. This pattern aligns with general motivational models. Among students with SLD and/or ADHD, the expected positive associations between SRL, academic self-efficacy, and grades were observed. However, unique findings emerge in this group. Social perception of AI, such as viewing AI as learning partners or feeling emotionally understood by AI, were negatively correlated with academic grades. Importantly, this pattern did not appear among students without SLD or ADHD. In other words, the tendency to relate to AI in a more social or relational way was uniquely associated with lower academic performance only in this group. This does not imply that AI use itself is harmful. Rather, it suggests that for students with SLD and ADHD, stronger emotional or relational reliance on AI may be linked to lower achievement. One possible interpretation is that social AI may reflect over-reliance or substitution of self-regulated regulated efforts. This group's specific pattern highlights that AI may function differently across psychological profiles. As expected and consistent with previous research, as well as our hypothesis, we found significant differences between the groups in academic self-efficacy. Students with SLD and/or ADHD reported lower levels of academic self-efficacy compared to students without this diagnosis. However, somewhat unexpectedly, we did not find group differences in AI usage frequency, AI perception, or self-regulated learning. In other words, students with SLD or ADHD did not use AI more frequently, nor did they perceive AI differently overall. This suggests that the critical differences may not lie in access or general attitudes toward AI, but rather in how AI-related perceptions relate to academic outcomes within each group. And now I will move to the regression analysis. The first one, we found that SRL was a stronger predictor of academic self-efficacy. AI variables did not significantly predict academic self-efficacy beyond demographics. In the regression predicting academic achievement, academic self-efficacy emerged as the strongest predictor. Importantly, AI use frequently also became a significant positive predictor of grades after controlling for demographic variables, SRL, and academic self-efficacy. However, AI perceptions, both positive and social, were not significant predictors in the final model. These findings stand in contrast to the previous regression model predicting academic self-efficacy. When predicting academic self-efficacy, none of the AI variables were significant predictors. In other words, AI variables did not predict students' beliefs about their academic capability, but actual frequency of AI use did contribute modestly to academic performance. This distinction suggests that behavioral engagement with AI may relate directly to achievement, while self-efficacy remains primarily driven by self-regulated learning processes. And now we'll move to the discussion. One of the most important findings of this study is that AI-related processes operate differently across groups. Among students without SLD or ADHD, positive perceptions of AI were associated with higher self-regulated learning and self-efficacy. However, among students with SLD or ADHD, stronger social perception of AI were associated with lower academic grades. These patterns suggest that AI does not function psychologically in the same way for all students. For some students, AI may reinforce productive learning processes. For others, especially those already vulnerable in self-regulation, relational reliance on AI may be associated with weaker outcomes. Our main implication for technology and practice includes that education institutions should foster critical AI literacy. Students must understand both capabilities and limitations of AI. Self-regulated learning remains central. Technology should scaffold, not replace, self-regulation. Our main conclusion is that AI is not inherently beneficial or harmful. Its impact depends on how students relate to it. Thank you.